RageQuitters, the home of anything other than good Christian magic. My goal here is to help you play better cards, you scrub, play those cards better than others, and have a good time while others don't, and maybe win a game. A big shout out to those patrons who support me. Jump to Sebastian Wolf on Patreon and show me some love. Patrons get early access to all Deck Tech videos long before they appear on YouTube. Plus there's plenty of other cool stuff there as well. Hi, and welcome back to part 2 in the RageQuitters series Threat Assessment. We've looked at some of the threats that might not necessarily be a threat, some of the fake threats or vindictive threats that might make our blood boil but aren't necessarily threatening the board state or you in your life total. So now, let's take a closer look at the real threats, the ones that when players FA, they FO. Now, the ones I look for first are the combo lines. In lower brackets, these probably take a little bit longer, sometimes forever, to assemble, purely because of the restrictions that are placed on brackets 2 and 3. But they still can be assembled. A lot of these lower brackets don't necessarily have tutors available to go and source their bits and pieces to assemble their combos. So there's a lot of luck that's involved in top decking and drawing into those pieces. Now, not many players will drop a Kiki Jiki or a Peregrine Drake, a Devoted Druid, a Mind Crank, Sanguine Bond, Niv Mizzet, or any other partial combo piece without the other parts either in their hand or in their deck. So the alarm bells should be ringing right now, and you should be prepared and ready to strike like a cobra when you see these drop. For a combo win is just around the corner. Next, I look for those dreaded stacks pieces because they alter the flow of the game and they may hinder you in your pursuit of victory. Cards like Grand Abolisher, Narset, Rule of Law, or even Mind Sensor can create locks and stop you from doing what you want to do and pave the way for an oppressive, long, and very painful game, which the stacks player will probably eventually win through attrition. For me, evasion comes next. Now, I don't care if you have a wide board presence. That's cool. My Blasphemous Act or other sweepers will probably catch all. What I do care about is if your wideboard state can get around my wideboard state, if indeed I have one. This includes unblockable creatures, flying or trample. What is even worse than this is if those creatures have protection from maybe a Shalai or a Padim, so they can't even be picked off. This becomes so annoying and very, very threatening. Deal with this sooner rather than later. Card advantage comes next. And by this, I mean excessive card advantage. Remember that Ristic Study player? Okay, you've got enough cards now, and it's time to act before they do. Repeatable card draw can be a problem, and let's face it, drawing cards is indeed the best thing you can do in a game of Commander. Ramping comes in at a close second. With access to more resources than other players, the card draw engines need to be shut down before they become problematic. But there's a reason why Narset is a game changer. She shuts this whole extra card draw down. So if you're running blue, I'd say try and slip Narset in there as a game changer. Some say that infinite synergy is not a combo. It's synergy. These are the gaslighters. I will be doing a whole new video on gaslighting and politics so you can understand the tactics that some players use. Whilst synergy is similar to combos, it is more about continuous value rather than setting up a win. Take Aesi and Simic Growth Chamber. You get 2 card draws, or more if you're able to play more and more lands. And with an Amulet of Vigor, you also get to float mana.
Manifold Key and the One Ring, Springheart Nantuko, and Wood Elves and Pitiless Plunderer with Ashnod's Altar offer amazing synergy engines, and these should be shut down and sent to the Shadow Realm as soon as possible, because it's likely that following this great synergy setup, a lot of players will have some sort of combo to finish out the game. Kill the synergy, kill the combo. So now that we've identified some of the key threats, what answers do you need before you utter these two words to send a shiver down the spine of those players threatening you? In response. Oh, I love that. I love it more if all I've got is an opt in hand because it makes people panic. But in response, you need to have a response. So generally, you need to dedicate 10 to 12 slots to interaction in your deck. Otherwise, you're just goldfishing and hoping that the game you won against your pillow last night when you were putting your deck together pans out in the exact same fashion. And I wish you all the best of luck with that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of being told how many slots of interaction or how many lands or how much ramp, etc., I should have in any of my decks. The only rule I'd say that works is to know your deck and to know your play style. Most of my decks have no more than 34 lands plus ramp and rocks, and I am really happy with that. If I miss a few land drops, then it's on me. But you need to play your decks often enough to know what works for you and what interaction spells you need in the colors you are playing to remove the threats that might come up in some of these games that you are playing. Just because you're in white does not mean you have to play Swords, Path, Wrath of God. And there are plenty of other decent cards that will remove threats from the table. You might instead opt for Silence, Orum's Chant, or even a Teferi's Protection instead to limit the effect of those threats against you. What you need are answers. That's all. Answers to the scariest threats, and these answers do not always have to come in the form of spells. Player removal is indeed the best form of threat removal. So attacking the threatening player is most definitely a form of interaction in itself. You can change a threatening player's strategy by applying pressure and forcing them to play defensively in order to survive. But what if you're the threat? Have you ever been in a game and you've asked the question, which most of us ask in a game of Commander, what's the biggest threat right now? Or who is the biggest threat right now? Only to have the three other players reply emphatically, it's you. Guess you might have just gone a little hard, a little early, and you're at the point of no return right now, and you're facing the wrath of the table. It is now time for you to assess just who has the potential to disrupt your plans now that you have been exposed. Save the right resources for the right moment now, and don't waste them on things that won't stop you or won't kill you. Your life total now becomes one of your most valuable resources. Many times I have stabilized on less than 10 health and still managed to win games. Absorb the damage and absorb all that you can. Take just enough commander damage as is allowable so you don't exceed the dreaded 21 damage. Until you are ready to fire the super laser and take out your opponents for the win. And here's a hot tip. Maybe next time, pace yourself a little better and allow someone else to present themselves as the threat so not all the heat is on you from the outset.
Okay, RageQuitters, here's the skinny. The best way to learn threat analysis is to play a lot of games of Commander, and to lose often. There is much more to learn from a loss than there is from a win. Pay attention to who won, what they won with, and how they assembled their win. If you're in a play group with regular commanders, it's not hard to work out what threats particular decks have. Caesar, for example, is attacking with an aristocrat's shell. Harthel is stationing and is all about landfall. Y'shtola is more than likely slinging spells with an Esper burn shell. Now, when I say lose commander games, it doesn't mean that you have to lose commander games. What I'm saying is when you do lose commander games, just pay attention to the important components that other players put together in order to achieve their win. Also, understanding that what might be a threat to you may not necessarily be a threat to your opponents, or vice versa. A blood moon when you're on a colourless commander has zero effect, much like a pillow fort setup when you're on a spell slinger's deck. So, understanding threats is a skill, and it is one that you need to master in order to become a much more competitive player, even in a casual pod. And as always, Rage Quitters, do not go gentle into that good night. Make your opponents rage against the dying of the light.